All right. Well, a very, very warm welcome to everyone for joining tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time out on a rainy evening like this. I don't know where you're all from different places, but here in Sydney, outside it's busy pouring and it has been for days. So nice way for us to get together. So for anyone who's never met me before, my name is Jeanine Sciacca. I have two arms to my business. This is the one arm which is helping investors invest in property. I'm a senior consultant for 2020 Property Advisory. And the other arm of my business is personal development, training, coaching. And I train something called the Silva Method, SILVA, which is a mind development program you might have heard of. So, how did I come to be a senior consultant for 2020 Property? Well, I was first a client of theirs way back in 2012, 13. And before I met the owner of 2020 Property Advisory, I actually bought my first investment property in Australia just before that from some other people. And when I met Mike Anderson, who's the owner of 2020, I'll just show you a photo of him. This is Mike Anderson. He's the owner. And when I first met him and he asked me what properties do I have, and I mentioned the one that I bought somewhere near Geelong, he said to me that probably won't go up in value. It probably will go down. I thought properties never go down. They always go up. And anyway, I held on to it. And then I was actually introduced to Mike by a finance broker who recommended him very highly. And I was very impressed with his research process, which I'm going to share some of the research here with you tonight, and helped me invest in two properties. And when I met Mike and was going through the buying process, he asked me if I still had that property in Geelong every single year. And I said, yes. He said, I think you should sell it. It's going to go down. And I never did. And after 6 years, he asked me again, do you still have it? I said, yes. He said, I really think you should sell it. It's probably going to go down. And I bought a brand new house and land package there, and it did go down. So Mike was correct. I sold it for a $35,000 loss, but it helped me at a time that I sold one of Mike's properties that he recommended at the same time that made a massive $180,000 profit in just 2.5 years. So as I said, I started as a client. I was very impressed by the research process. I was very impressed by the personal service, because 2020 is a boutique agency. We're not a massive company doing big seminars of hundreds and thousands of people. We have our clients for life, and clients who bought from us 25 years ago are still our clients today. They're just much, much wealthier, and they've bought and sold over the 20 years or whatever. So that's me.
Is this a buyer's agency, is it?
No, we are. So I'm not a buyer's agent. 2020 Property are not buyer's agents. We do not charge our clients any fees. We are property advisors. So we help. So we're actually a research company. Property research is what underpins everything we do in the business. And we help clients by sharing the research and finding the areas of the maximum growth in the next, say, 3 to 5 years. And when we find those areas, then Mike Anderson will go and look at every developer in that suburb. Maybe he'll see 6 developments, and maybe he'll choose 1, maybe 2, depending on who the developer is, the quality of the build, if it's the right thing for our clients, the right entry price, if we can look after the managing agent, because we want to make sure that we have the best managing agent for our clients. So we help our clients with every step of the buying process and manage their portfolio. We don't charge the client. We get paid by the developer like any estate agent would if they sell any property. So our clients are ours for life. So I'll take you more through it as we go along. But for tonight's webinar, this was the key agenda. How did 2021, I'm actually going to share, hold on, someone's just joined. I'm going to share how 2020 and 2021, so the 2 years of COVID, how did it affect the property market? I'll let you know definitely a bit more about the market and share the research. It's really very, very, very important that you know your market before you invest. Because as I said to you in my own story, that very first property that I bought, not from 2020, I made a $35,000 loss on a brand new house. And people say, how does that happen? Well, it was the wrong area. But when I met Mike and he shared the research with me, and then when I did say that I'm interested, he took me on a tour of the area. Back then, this is 2013, It was Central Coast and southwest of Sydney. That was where the market was growing then. He took me on a 3-hour car tour of each area, showing me everything, all the infrastructure development, the reasons it's going to grow. And we do the same still today, except now we're in Queensland, in Brisbane and Sunshine Coast. And if clients are interested, we also take them on a tour there. You buy a ticket, you fly, I hire the car and take you there. So the other thing is, why does a person need to be qualified before coming to look at property? I'll explain to you. We have never seen a property market like this. Us personally, 2020, in 25 years, we've never seen a property market as hot as what it is at the moment in Queensland. And if you ask other people who've been in the industry for longer, they've never seen a market like this in 40 years. So it really is essential that if you want to buy anything or you're interested in investing, that you know exactly how much you can afford. You've been to see a bank or a broker and you know your affordability, that you're ready to take action. Because literally, when we get properties, they go straight away, and it's never been like that. So it's important that when you are ready, that you're ready to actually act. And then people who are sitting on the fence, not sure, they really will miss out. I'll give you some examples as we go along, but just as an example to give you up front, we were selling some townhouses. We still are in the Sunshine Coast, and stage 1 had about 25 townhouses in stage 1. We had about 10 of those, and that whole lot sold in 1 week. Stage 2 had a lot less. I think there were about 10 there, and we sold the whole of stage 2 in half an hour. I'm not joking. So there were just queues of people. The market there locally is really, really, really busy, and they don't have enough stock. So us as investors are trying to compete with a whole lot of really eager to move forward and purchase and literally desperate home buyers in Queensland themselves. So we are competing with people who are living there locally, and that's what makes it a bit more difficult to get stock. So what I'm going to cover off today is this agenda, which is on the front page. So I'll show you some property research drivers of growth and identify areas of greater opportunity. I'll show you some positive cash flow options with above average capital growth, and just show you also what some clients have achieved. So as I said, this is Mike Anderson. He's the owner. He's been doing this for 25 years. His background is, says 20 years experience, is 25. I mean to say over 20 years. He's started off in finance, and then he was in financial planning, and then he got into property development itself and also property sales. But right from the years of being in financial planning, he always used to help clients invest in property. And he himself was a property investor from a very young age and did a lot of research to find the best areas. And he found that he was really his research process was really working. And eventually said, you know what, I'm so passionate about helping clients invest in property, I'm going to just focus on that. And he started doing that 25 years ago and still doing that today. So property research is the main experience that he has, and he's really good at what he does. So I'm very proud to be associated with 2020 Property. So our team is really small. We're not a massive company, as I said, putting hundreds of people through a seminar. We're a boutique. Pearlie is at our office helping with sales as well, and also the managing of all the paper flow. And then Helen is our finance, and Ola is our marketing, and then there's Mike. So that's us as a team. I'll just share with you our business model. So we do research, and what we're looking for in the research is a mismatch in supply and demand. Let me find my mouse here. On a national level. So when you have a mismatch in supply and demand, a high demand, low supply, prices go up, and the other way around, prices go down. Simple economics. Once we find the mismatch, we go to the state level, then we go to the local government level, and then we look at, very importantly, population growth. You'll see in the slides here how important population movement is in the country, because that really drives the property prices. And then we'll look at the actual demographics. So what kind of people are moving into an area, making the demand for property go up? Is it old people, young people, families, singles, couples? That's important, so we know what size dwelling and whether it's a house or a townhouse is the best option. Then infrastructure is hugely important, because that's what causes people to move into an area and the demand for property to go up. So we then look, once we know the demographic, the right area, all the infrastructure's there, job opportunities have increased. We then look for the right entry options, what to get into. Is it a 2-bedroom, a townhouse, or a 4-bedroom house? What is the entry option? Then for us, most importantly, is exit. So many people sell you property, they never talk to you about the exit. They just want to sell you a property. We want to know the exit point before we buy the property. So we want to know, before you buy, who will buy this property off you in the next 3 to 5 years for a profit? And why would they pay more for it? And if we can answer that question, you mitigate a lot of risk and you know exactly what you're buying and why. So what we do is we first meet a client, we want to understand their goals. So not just, I want to invest in property, why? To make money. Okay, we know you want to make money. Everyone wants to make money in property. But why do you want to make money? Is it because you want to grow your retirement savings? Do you want to start getting a deposit for your own property? Do you want to have private school fees? What is it that the reason is? You want to pay down the mortgage on your own home? Once we know what your objective is, it makes it much more strategic in buying property and knowing what we're doing. Then we want to know your capacity. That's why I say, please see a broker if you haven't already, if you're looking to buy, and know exactly what you can afford so you have conversations that are meaningful from the very start. We also educate our clients using the research, like this webinar tonight is free. We like to educate. Then, if you are ready and you have a goal and you've got the capacity and you're interested, then, and we understand your scenario, we will match to your scenario the best property that we think is specifically for your situation. And we'd meet for the second time and I'd present an option to you. And if you like that option, then right now, as I said, we're in Queensland. I'd recommend you jump on a plane. I'll meet you at the airport in Brisbane or Sunshine Coast. I'll hire a car and I'll take you on a full tour of about 3 hours and show you all the infrastructure, the reasons why it's going to grow, comparable properties that are the same as our asset, same size, but what's their price, what's their quality, what does that look like, and then take you to the one that we are suggesting and look at that quality. And we want you to be confident and excited that what you are getting into is the best in that area. We're not in the high end. When I say the best, I'm not talking about the $1 million properties. I'm talking about the best in that that entry point. So we're not at the bottom of the market in cheap suburbs like Logan and so on, and we're not in the upper $1 million. We're in that mass market bandwidth of the average Australian, like average household income. So when there's an open day, you get a lot of people. When you're selling in 5 years' time or whenever it is, there's a lot of people looking, not just a few. So that's the market that we're in. And then if you like the property, you go ahead. We help you with the implementation. Our company doesn't do it, but we've been doing this for many years. So we can recommend someone to do your handover, to do your depreciation schedule. Our clients get a 50% discount on the depreciation schedule, which is fantastic from BMT. If you go on your own, you won't get that. We help find your managing agent, and we manage your managing agents. If anything's wrong, even if it's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now, and your managing agent's not helping you with good service, you call me. Doesn't matter if we spoke last a year ago or 2 years ago, and we will help you because we want our investors to have the best experience and the least trouble to manage that property. So that's why we help you with everything. If you need insurance, we can guide you there. If you need a broker, we can guide you there. We're not associated with any of these people. We don't get fees or anything. We just use, like, even if you need a conveyancer, we just recommend the best conveyancer, probably someone that I would use, I would recommend. And that's how we work. Then the most important thing is with our clients, we keep the relationship for life. We're looking for long-term relationships. And that's a very important thing because it holds us accountable. If we just sold a property and said, have a nice day, and I never spoke to you again, well, I could sell you anything. But the fact that I say every year you'll hear from us and we'll tell you how the property is growing, what the area is doing, if you should keep holding it, if we think it's time to exit the market, and I'll show you why it's important to exit a market and not hold a property for long term, like I used to do it before I actually met Mike and learned from him how to be a more astute property investor and why having an exit strategy is important to make much more money, and I'll show you that. But we review your plan in line with your goals and every year keep you up to date. So when I said we look at exit points and we are interested in selling, well, why sell? Well, let me show you. The property market grows at about 8% on average a year, but it doesn't grow in a straight line. It has these short, sharp upswings in growth that are then followed by a long period of stagnation. So if you think of Sydney, if any one of you have been in Sydney for over 20 years, you will know that the Sydney market grew between 2000 and 2003. Then it was flat for 10 years. Then it took off again in 2012 to 2016, flattened a bit. It has grown again now. But we expect, especially when interest rates move, it's going to flatten and stagnate. But when one market flattens, another market takes off. And after a period of time, when that one also starts to plateau off and have a period of stagnation, another market takes off. So if you understand this based on research, you can be very effective in making a lot of money investing in property. Now, this is theory. I'll show you this in real numbers. This is actually what happened with clients. So we started in, let's just talk about the year 2000 to make it easy. Properties in Sydney, then we were putting clients into properties around the $300 or $275 mark, whether it's a townhouse or whatever it was, we were putting them in. The property market grew between 2000 and 2003, as I said. Now, we said to clients in 2003, sell your Sydney property, we're going to Perth, based on the research. Some clients said, okay, we take your advice. They sold, they got into Perth. Other clients said, no, I don't sell, I hold my property ongoing. So the reason it's a bit lower, they paid capital gains tax, agent's commission, stamp duty and legal fees for the new property, and the prices were slightly under in Perth. You get all those exit and entry fees back in the next 6 to 8 months, and the property in a growth market takes off again. After a few years, we said, hey, based on the research, sell Perth, we're going to Darwin. Same thing, paid exit and entry costs, prices slightly cheaper, make that money back in the next couple of months and shoot off again. Then we went into Melbourne. I'm happy to show you that Melbourne wasn't a perfect story, because it's not. This is what happens sometimes. But when we got to the year from 2009 already, we were telling clients 2009, 10, 11, 12, ongoing, sell your portfolio and invest your proceeds in Sydney. So this client, for example, who did this, sold whatever they had, took the money and got into Sydney. Now, in 2012, this is at about 1.1 million. Just to make it clear, we never sold the clients a $1.1 million property. We either sold them 2 properties at around 500 and something, or maybe 3 smaller ones like townhouses, maybe 1 house and land. So we were in the $300,000 to $550,000 bracket. And then the Sydney market took off, as you can see, and really did some phenomenal growth till about the year 2016 and still on. But it flattened out from there. So the point is, I personally was a buy and hold strategy person. And Mike showed me this and said, you need to make more money getting into the bottom of a growth market and getting out of the top, getting into the next bottom of the next growth market, getting out of the top. And it's true, because the difference between this client and this client in a managed portfolio is $880,000 more money between these 2 people in just 15 years. And this, my friends, is with having 1 property to start. So imagine having 2 properties or 3 as you go along. So definitely way more effective. So I'm a converted investor today. I don't do buy and hold. I sold my Sydney property, the one that I very first bought from Mike when I was a client before I worked for 2020. I sold it. I bought it in 2013. It was a house and land. We built it and finished it in 2014. And 2 years later, in 2016, I sold it, made $180,000 profit, and put that money straight into Brisbane, the next market, and my money's there in a townhouse in Brisbane. And I subsequently also sold my other house that I bought from 2020 Property in Sunshine Coast. Did really well. I bought it for $450,000 in 2014, and I sold it just recently for $790,000. So I made $340,000 on the other property. So that was with Mike, and with I just really liked the process. And when I got the opportunity, when I left corporate after 20 years to work for Mike and sell investment property, I felt really blessed, really grateful, and I jumped at the opportunity. And I've been with them doing this now since 2015, and the results are fantastic. And you know, I love property, so I'm happy to share this with you and help you if you invest in property as well. I just want to help everyone, you know, do well and grow your wealth. I think it's fantastic asset class is property. Just wanted to show you this when I said how did 2020 and 2021 affect the property market? Well, I have to tell you, in the COVID year, when people thought, when COVID first hit in the beginning of March 2020, many of our clients suddenly put the handbrake up and said, oh, we don't know what's happening. It's very uncertain. We're not going to, our price is going to come down. And we said, look, we don't see any prices coming down in Queensland. Nothing's come down. So people are a bit cautious for about March, April, May. But at the time it came to June, all the clients who were waiting just got into the market and things started to ramp up. It was an extremely busy year for the property market in 2020. And look at these statistics. This is the net interstate migration. So in 2020, 18 or 19,000 people left New South Wales. 13,000 left Victoria. Not much movement in the other states. They all went into Queensland. With 30,000 people moving into Queensland in 2020, prices never went down 1 inch. They went up. Rents went up, and they've kept climbing subsequently a lot since then. I'll show you some incredible numbers, how the market's moving, and very, very strongly. This 30,000 caused, seriously, I'm not exaggerating, a chronic shortage of properties. People were even sleeping in tents in the open field before the release of house and land packages, for example, in Sunshine Coast, just to get a place to stay. In one of our townhouse developments in Sunshine Coast, there were 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom townhouses in a place called Meriden Plains. When we put an open day for one of the townhouses, we had 50 people go through the open day, and we had people putting 6 to 12 months rent up front on the table saying, please, I must have this place. I need a place to stay. So rental vacancy is 0 in Sunshine Coast. It's close to 0 to 1%, very low. In Brisbane, in certain areas, though the areas where we're not in the center of Brisbane CBD, we are avoiding that just because of the apartment sector there. We are in a little bit of an outer ring, not too far out, anything from, let's say, 14 kilometers to 35 around Brisbane. So if 30,000 have caused such a chronic shortage, which it has, and pushed prices and rents up so much, then we looked at numbers. I can't find an updated slide yet from the ABS. This is from the Australian Bureau of Statistics for 2021, but because they haven't consolidated the information yet, but reading reports on the ABS, it's approximately the same number. It comes to around 30,000 because it's about 7,000 to 8,000 people a quarter. So it's approximately the same. Now, looking at this headline, this says how Queensland population will surge by 250,000 in the next 4 years. I mean, that's more than double anyone's highest expectations. And if that does happen, and we're seeing more and more people moving into Queensland, the shortage of properties there and the demand that's so high is really going to continue. And this is why for investors, it's a very good property market, because you've got high demand and a real shortage of supply, and they can't keep up. I think it was in the back end of 2020 to 2021, I think about 2 to 3 years worth of stock sold in about 6 months. So really a good market. Okay. Let's try and move this out the way. So, as I said, a real shortage of good stock. Rents have moved 10 to 30% in 1 year in Brisbane and Sunshine Coast. That is really an important point, because when the property prices in Sydney moved in the previous years, between 2012 and 2016, the property values went up. Even now, the last few years, they've probably gone up. The rents haven't gone up. So here in Sunshine Coast and Brisbane, we have rents jumping, and that always is indicative of that prices are going to keep moving. In terms of house and land, I just want to say we've seen phenomenal growth. We've seen 200,000 increase in the prices of property in Springfield, which we put clients into since a year ago. I mean, that's extraordinary growth. Sunshine Coast, just talking about small dwellings like the one-bedroom townhouses in Sunshine Coast, prices are up on those 100,000 on the one-bedders, 150,000 on the two-bedders, and on the house and land packages in Sunshine Coast, also 200,000 plus on the four-bedroom houses. So the market is very, very strong, very, very strong. It is so busy at the moment and such a shortage of stock that now what Stocklands have done is they're making people actually go to Eventbrite and get onto a ticketing system. So they're in a queue there, and you have to present your pre-approval up front. Your documents must be ready, certified copies of your ID, the lot. So when you actually do see them, right there and then, you must be able to sign, give them a holding deposit, whatever it is, $1,000, like an expression of interest holding deposit. If you don't do that, you will have to go back to the back of the queue. You will not get a property. And even for us, we are getting, compared to how it used to be before 2020, we've been putting clients into Brisbane since the end of 2015. We got in the market really early, and into Sunshine Coast about 2018, started putting clients. And all those years, we used to have several options, like 7 house and land packages in that area, 10 in that area, another 10. Now, there was a period we never got any stock for about 6 months in 2020. And since then, we get like 2 or 3 a month, 2 or 3 months. So we got a waiting list now. We've never been in this situation before. And we literally we present to clients, take them through the whole presentation. If you had a consultation with us, we would take you through a pack with an individual option, especially for you, take you through all the information, all the research, and the client would say, yep, I'm happy with it. And then we say, okay, there's nothing available now. You're on a placeholder waiting list. We will call you as soon as the developer releases it. But on that day, please put the expression of interest in straight away, same day. And I say to clients, if you don't, you won't get it. And it's not a sales tactic, it's the truth. And if you don't put it in, you really won't get it. And remember, just for your own benefit, an expression of interest is a refundable deposit if you don't go ahead. It's not a contract. It doesn't lock you in. It's to reserve the property and take it off the market. But if you are interested, you must put that in straight away. It doesn't matter if it's Brisbane, if it's Sunshine Coast, because you won't get it. The local market is waiting, and they are selling hand over fist there. It is incredibly busy, and people are on waiting lists all the time. There's just a real shortage. So just to tell you, as an investor, if you wanted to get land, you can buy land directly, whether it's from Stocklands or whoever. If you do buy the land, you can reserve it. And if you wanted a developer, we could help you. We won't charge anything. We would help you get the house package with a developer who we've worked with or who we know and we believe is reliable, and put that option in front of you, because sometimes clients can get land directly, which never happened before. We do have house and land packages, but in certain pockets where we are only looking due to the right areas for investment, and we're on permanent like supply lists from these developers, but we don't get, oh, here's a whole lot, go and sell them. We literally wait, and they call us and they say, okay, we've got 3 house and land packages. You've got 24 hours to give us the expressions of interest. Otherwise, they're gone. So that's why what we actually doing with clients, if we show the client something and they like it, we ask, just give us the expression of interest. They don't have to pay the $1,000 yet, but give that piece of paper to us, because the minute the developer releases it, we send that through straight away to reserve it, and then we'll call the client up and say, look, we've got one. This is it. Can you please put in the $1,000 holding deposit now? Because if we don't do that, who are they going to sell it to? Someone in the local market straight away. So we are competing basically with the local market. And then just be careful of FOMO, the fear of missing out. People are jumping in. They're not maybe doing enough homework. Just be really careful. Not all areas are really good because there's a chronic shortage right now, and there's so little stock let me rephrase that. There's so little good stock for investors, but there's a lot of stock. Some of it is not good. Available that if we wanted to, we could just shovel a whole lot of clients into other areas which are not good investments, but we're not doing it. We're not going to do that. Our focus is long-term relationships, and the client's performance is what gives us our business. We don't advertise a dollar. All our business is referred or repeat business. The same way that I was actually referred to Mike by a mortgage broker all those years ago. And my clients are also referred. I recommend him, I recommend Mike, go and see him, and so on. So we wouldn't put clients into an area that we don't think is going to perform above average. That's what we're looking for, above average growth. So, areas like Logan, Collingwood, Ipswich, the back of Red Bank Plains, we're not putting clients in there. But if you went online, you could buy a lot there. You would say, oh, there's lots of stock available. Why does Jeanine say there's nothing available? Well, there is stock available there, but we don't recommend that stock. So we do want to look in the right areas for the right option, for the right reasons, based on the right research, the right infrastructure development, the right amount of employment growth, because employment growth drives people into an area and causes a demand on residential property. And you also want a constraint on supply. If you take binoculars and look out there and say, oh, there's just so much land to develop, I don't know if that's a good investment because it's what you call urban sprawl. There's always more, there's always more. Prices go up when there's a constraint on supply and a high demand. And of course, there are all sorts of other options. But for us, if we don't believe that the price is right, then we don't do it. So even though we, for the first time ever in 25 years, have clients on waiting lists, we are getting them properties. They are getting them. They just might have to wait a week or 2 weeks sometimes a little bit longer than that. But if it's the right property for them and it's definitely going to be a great growth opportunity, then you're doing the right thing. It doesn't really matter if you have to wait a little bit to get the right property, because if you're making 100, 250,000 profit and you'd rather do that than make 60,000, well, I would do that if that was me. So how did 2020 affect the property market? Just to say, we've seen how it did that, but let's talk about Sydney and Melbourne. What happens when interest rates go up, even if it's 1%? So we know that especially in Sydney and Melbourne, people have upgraded their homes. All this price pushing up that we've seen during COVID is actually, a lot of it is based on fear of missing out, to be honest. FOMO, people upgrading their homes as owners, upgrading their own homes. And a lot of people have borrowed what they normally would not be able to afford because the interest rates are so low. So if the interest rates do go up, Sydney for sure will be recalibrated. Prices will come down back to, a more cooler level. I'm not saying it'll crash, but they will soften a lot. Certain pockets in Sydney won't be affected significantly, but others will be. What would happen in Queensland, which is already currently a very high demand and hot area, is we believe it would do even better, because compared to Sydney and Melbourne, and interest rates did go up, it would make affordability more difficult. And because Queensland is such an affordable market, prices are much lower than Sydney and Melbourne, we believe people would move there even more. So I don't know if this is a correct number. I'm just going to say that I'm not certain of it, but I saw a headline somewhere that said 100,000 people left Victoria in 2021. That for me is extraordinary. If you look at that chart I showed you in the beginning, it was, like around 20,000. So I'm not too sure of that number, but I know a lot of people did leave Victoria. Now, the areas that we've put clients into and still putting clients into have done really well, even with COVID and even with the floods. And we expect certain pockets to do even better. Where there's calamities like these floods that they're having, It drives people's decisions. If you think of Ballina and areas around Lismore where there were the terrible floods, a lot of retirees out there. And the last time Brisbane had floods like that was in 2011, and they said it wouldn't happen in another 100 years. It's happened just 10 years later. They might say, I don't want this to happen to me again. And they might sell up and move to another area. So our areas aren't in the flood zones. And by the way, the flood maps of the council are really, really well done after the 2011 flood. So they're on the internet. You can look at them. We're not in any of those areas, and you can't actually build property. So we only sell new for being most tax effective. You don't even get a building permit. Developers can't get one if it's in any of those flood zone areas. So that fear is not our concern. We haven't had any of our properties have any flooding with all the rain that they've had. So we think the floods might even drive investors more investors into the area that we've selected. And then, we've seen house prices going up in Melbourne and Sydney where they were already in the unaffordable category, and they actually didn't have the livability to match. So the price is going up, but the places are still small. You're talking millions of dollars for a tiny dwelling in Sydney, really expensive. And if you think about a place like Queensland, if you took, I don't know, 600,000, you can get a 4-bedroom house. So if you left Sydney with $1 million, you could buy a brand new 4-bedroom house and put almost $500,000 into savings. So why wouldn't a person do that? So we do expect a recalibration in Sydney and Melbourne if interest rates move, and they will move. Also, the rental yields are really, really low, terribly low in Sydney and Melbourne. And some rents even went a little bit down with COVID, and they haven't recovered. Whereas in Sunshine Coast and Brisbane, rents have constantly gone up over the time. Just to give an example, my partner had bought a townhouse in Sunshine Coast in 2018. The prices were at that stage quite affordable, really low. They were about 310,000. The rent started at 320. Then it went to 340. Then it went to 355. Then it went to 380. And now it's over 400, 410, 420 for a 1-bedroom. So you can see how well the rents are performing and still going to keep performing. And then you look at Sydney and Melbourne, rents haven't moved. If you've got a $1 million property here, you're lucky to get $650 in rent. So that's a very big, by the way, rental yield is a big indicator for if it's a good or not good property investment area or market, because that big gap between rents and selling prices shows you that it's like stretching an elastic band. How further can it stretch? Once the rents move up, yes, then prices can keep rising, but otherwise, no. So let's talk about the drivers of growth and which areas have the greatest opportunity. So when we look at the drivers for growth, we're talking about that mismatch in supply and demand, those imbalances. So the first thing is supply. What's the current supply like, and what's the future supply going to be like? The next one is population growth. Interstate migration is hugely important. It's such a driver of property prices. It's a really important slide to watch, and I'll show it to you. And then, of course, rental returns is a very important indicator. As I said, with rental yields, you can tell that Sydney and market are toast. They're not a good investment market at all. And can you imagine being an investor here paying such a high price for a dwelling and your rental return is so low? It's unaffordable. It really is. Whereas in Sunshine Coast, our properties are cash flow positive, or in Brisbane, cash flow positive before tax and even more so after tax. Totally different scenario. They don't drain your cash flow. They supplement your cash flow. Affordability, as I said, is a big driver, and the demographics, we'll look at that as well. So if you talk about population growth, don't worry about the date of this chart. I've shown you the numbers on the first chart of how many people migrated. So they haven't supplied an updated version of this by the ABS that looks, this is a great chart just to look at. But what I really want to show you is the relationship between New South Wales and the mirror image with Queensland over time. And again, the mirror image of WA and Vic, those markets interact, and New South Wales strongly interacts with Queensland. So when I said that Sydney market grew very strongly between 2000 and 2003, because prices went up, people left. This is interstate migration. People left Sydney because it's getting more and more expensive. And where did they go? Well, they went into Queensland. Then what happened? A couple of years later, between 2003-4 to about 2006-7, the Queensland market started to do well. So what happened? People started to leave Queensland. It became unaffordable. Where did they go? Came back to Sydney. And then again, Sydney market grew between 2012 and about 2016. So this line here stops at 2017. It was at about 24,000 people now. So it's down here, almost at the same level where it is back then. That's where we are today. And this one, as you know, is all the way up here past the 30,000s. It might even be higher for last year. So knowing that, as you can anticipate, the same thing is going to happen as people migrate out of here and go there. Property prices there are moving up, which is what they're doing. And this is a nice chart to look at over history. If you go to that time where Sydney did grow, 2000 to 2003, it kind of created this bit of a price gap between the blue line, which is Brisbane, and the green line, which is Sydney. And then once Sydney stagnated, which you can see here, it stagnated for 10 years. And in that time, the Brisbane market went up in price, and you created a bit of a pinch point here. Well, look where we are today, here and even beyond. The price gap is very big at the moment between Brisbane and Sydney. You're talking about the prices are in Brisbane about 55% of what they are in Sydney. That's a huge saving. So that's the reason why people are migrating there. And then, as I said to you, yield is a very important indicator for an investor. You want to know that your rental return, so rental yield as a formula is your annual rent in dollars divided by the price of the property, whatever that percentage is. And you can see the lowest two are Melbourne and Sydney. Really poor, terrible low rental yields. This is an old chart. These numbers are over 5 at the moment. But still, even when they weren't, and from 2017, as I said, we've been watching and investing in the Queensland, Brisbane, and Sunshine Coast market since end of 2015, and went into Sunshine Coast in 2018. And from then already, it had the best rental yields and definitely still does. So here is just the median house prices to show you. If you look at Sydney, that's around about where it is, 1.4 million. And if you compare that to Brisbane, you can understand why people want to move. And here, if you look at the annual household income at 100,000, it's just 8% more than Brisbane. And this is not even updated, but let's say it's a bit higher than that. They're still very close. So the household incomes are really close, but the huge disparity in the prices of a dwelling. So from affordability point of view, it's way more affordable there. So that's why many people are leaving Sydney to go live in Queensland. If you look at the demographic, the blue chart is the last 10 years, the yellow is the next 10 years, and this is for Brisbane. It shows you that the biggest group in the next 10 years are what we call downsizers. And, you know, a downsizer is even a person from Sydney moving and buying a 4-bedroom house in Brisbane. That's still a downsizer for some Sydney properties that are bigger than that. But in the other areas, depending on the demographic, if it's a townhouse kind of thing, it's a very, very popular asset class, townhouses. People don't want an acre of lawn to mow and maintain. They want a park nearby, and they want a small place to maintain. So downsizers is really what we're looking at. And then also the second largest one is young renters, which is absolutely ideal if you're an investor. Just a few statistics on the Sunshine Coast. You can see this is 2017 versus the prediction for 2040. The population growth, how huge that is. The number of schools is indicative of the growth. The airport connections, the Maroochydore Airport in Sunshine Coast is becoming an international airport. That's really, really important. It changes the whole landscape there of where the growth is going and what they're intending to do. There's just some more there, and then here, I just want to move that. You can see the population growth. So the population growth in Australia is a percentage versus Sunshine Coast, how it way outgrows the average of the country. And same with the labor force. People think, oh, there are no jobs there. That's old, years ago stories. There are very good job opportunities. And in Sunshine Coast, they've built the biggest hospital, not in Australia, in the Southern Hemisphere, the biggest hospital. So that's a big employer. There's a university there as well, and just lots of industry, lots of new things happening. And this is an indicator of growth. This is really an important indicator of the demand for properties. Also, school kids, and very attractive for retirees because the weather's so lovely and just beautiful there. Okay, so when you identify the areas of greatest opportunity, it's Brisbane and Sunshine Coast, most affordable of the largest of the capital cities, very healthy, strong yields, and really low vacancy rates. I mean, many of the areas that we are in, the vacancy rate, no kidding, is zero. If a tenant moves out, they get the place cleaned the next day and the keys are in the hands of the next tenant. We don't have any vacancy. People are waiting on waiting lists. There's just nothing available. The changing infrastructure leads to employment growth, and that's really important. So when dealing with a client, if you're interested in something, we show you exactly what is happening in that area and exactly why employment growth is on the rise. And the demographic points towards what we call infill townhouses. That means townhouses in already developed areas where a pocket of land becomes available. Maybe a person had an acreage or something, and they've sold it, or the person's old and passed on, and it becomes available. They would develop that with some townhouses in a really well-established suburb. They do really well. So we look at that, and also well-located houses. Properties at the moment are anything between the 440 price range to about 850. We do have some in the lower 400s as well. We don't have them at the moment, but they are coming in the next couple of weeks. So I would just say 400 to the upper end of houses in Sunshine Coast, around the 850 price range. So when we look at where we are to invest, we have certain go zones and no-go zones. So we don't do the centre of Brisbane for good reason. A lot of competition there with the apartment sector, and vacancy. The rental yields are the lowest in the CBD, or just around it. The minute you pop out here, we don't go there as well, down to the Ipswich way, too far out, and job growth is not as strong. So we don't see that kind of growth in the property market. And we don't want to go too far south down either, and not to Gold Coast, nothing going on there. So this is the kind of areas that we're at. This area here, even we've been to Tagum, we've done Nudgee, this whole area here, Strathpine, in several suburbs around here. Also down southwest here in the Springfield area, Forest Lakes, a certain side of Red Bank Plains. There's a new side, not the old side. So certain areas around the Springfield area. And of course, up in Sunshine Coast, we even have up as far as North Lakes we've done, which is really, really successful. Mango Hill, Kalanga, all those suburbs we've done. So this is kind of the ring. And then, of course, Sunshine Coast. So I'll show you some property options now. We do house and land packages. This is all off the plan. The reason that we do new is we want the most tax effective properties. I'm not too sure if you know that the legislation changed in 2017 for tax effectiveness on properties regarding depreciation. So depreciation is just writing off two things: the actual building itself and a straight line depreciation over 40 years. And then the fixtures and fittings are depreciated on a shorter time scale, like the first 5 to 7 years. If you buy a property secondhand, even if it's only 6 months old, like brand new, you lose all the depreciation on the fixtures and fittings. You don't get a cent. So the difference in cash back to you as an investor, if you're working and paying tax, to be tax effective, and you bought, even if it's a 6 month or 1 month old house or 1 year old house, whatever it is, you lose out on approximately $7,000 a year tax deductions if the property is only worth $400. It goes more depending on what the property is and how many bathrooms it has, and the kitchen and what's in the kitchen and so on. But that alone, if you just think it's about half the depreciation is lost. You're much more tax effective buying new. You also got a structural warranty for 7 years, so your maintenance is zero, and there's a defect period when a property is brand new, so you've got 90 days with a tenant in there. Any defect, tap doesn't work or toilet doesn't flush or window doesn't open, they fix it, and they fix it for free. And then you've got also a warranty period on your appliances in a brand new house if anything goes wrong. So there's really no maintenance. I've got several investment properties now, obviously working for 2020. I haven't had any maintenance ever as an investor with Mike. I had, for the first time in 8 years on one of my properties, to fix the handle of the oven or something like that. But otherwise, there was hardly anything. So there's that advantage and the tax effectiveness. So looking at cash flow positive options in good areas. So house and land, what I'm going to show you is approximately around the 630 mark for a 4-bedroom house, 2 living areas, 2 bathrooms, double garage, nice big size house, approximately 200 square meters or just over that. The rent, I'm putting $590 to be conservative, but very often it's more or less dollar for dollar or close by. I've put the approximate cash flow. This is cash flow positive per week based on an income of about $80,000 a year. That's the average income. And if the person bought with equity, the numbers would change and improve slightly the more cash you put in. So if you put a deposit down, it would be an improved number. But otherwise, this is with equity, buying with equity. That means borrowing the whole amount. And as I said, an $80,000 salary. This is a typical example of a house and land package. This is in Palara, one of the areas that we're in. So very nice finishes. You've got, air conditioning, depending on the development and where and what it is. But we either, in the houses, most often have ducted aircon. Otherwise, you will have air conditioning. There's stone bench tops, stainless steel appliances, nice finishes, all turnkey. Nothing more to add, not a post box, not a garden. It's all turnkey and done. So sometimes you see online the property prices directly from the developer up to $40,000 cheaper, and that's because they aren't turnkey. You need to put the post box, do the landscaping of the garden, put a remote control in the garage, motor, maybe doesn't have air cons, fly screens. So just to be aware of that when you're dealing, what's not included and what is included. Is fencing included? Thank you, Harry. Fencing, this house doesn't have a fence. If there is fencing on the suburb, there are some of our properties that do have fencing, and yes, if there is fencing, it's all included. Every single thing is a fixed price for whatever the thing is. But this particular house here, if this is how it looks and there is no fence on the diagram, there won't be, but this here would be included. There's a fence there to the back garden, if that helps. Then we also have another option in Joyner, which is north of Brisbane, not too far, very nice. And these are terraced houses. So the whole area here has got a certain look and feel. These are terraced homes, so there would be one house there, one house there, one house there. They don't actually touch each other. There's a slight gap between them, but from the front facade, it looks like they do touch, but they don't. So these are individual house and land packages, and these are 4-bedroom houses with 2.5 bathrooms and double garage. This is a really, really good option because just 5 minutes away, a 4-bedroom house is in the middle sevens, in the mid 700s. So that's why we chose this particular development. It's as important at the price you're getting in as it is as the price you're getting out. If you buy well in the beginning, you do much better. There's just much more profit than paying too much for a property. So we look at that quite strongly. Then Eden's Crossing. This is down southwest near the Springfield area. And the reason that we chose there is these are really under market prices. The prices of a house in Springfield is anything now from 800 to $1 million. And to think of the mid fives, you're paying for a house and you're 5 minutes from Springfield. It's like the sleepy suburb that's got a way to catch up and then to grow. We see good opportunity for price lift here. So that's why we've chosen. Also, this house has got 2 living areas. Then we also do townhouses in Brisbane. The price is around 420, early 400s to 450. That will be 3-bedroom and also positive cash flow, about $100 a week. I don't have those images yet. As I say, stock is really short. We're waiting for them, but we do have townhouses coming in that price range. Jumping into Sunshine Coast, just to remind you, the biggest hospital in the Southern Hemisphere is a massive driver of employment. The hospital, when it's complete, will employ 6,000 people. It's now, it says here, 3,500 staff initially. It's a bit over now. It's about 4,200 they've got. 6,000 is where they need to get to. And if you go to Sunshine Coast, it's not just this hospital. It's an entire precinct of streets and roads and medical centers and x-ray rooms and doctors, specialist areas. It's like a whole precinct. And all of that is new. So lots of new jobs there. And why they're not at full capacity is they're trying to get staff. They don't have enough staff. So you can see the new employment, which is driver of people into the area. This is important. All the infrastructure development, this amount of money, 200 million for the airport expansion. Maroochydore, it's a beautiful city. If you haven't seen it before, it's really stunning. And they have got massive investment in Maroochydore. There was a golf course there several years ago. It was rezoned. And the next thing, cladding went up. And I just went back a few months later and there were just development everywhere. A few months after that, buildings. And you go there now, it's a completely different zone with lots of business buildings there. So lots of growth in Maroochydore, which again is indicative of new jobs. There's a light rail project, which is fantastic. It makes it very convenient to go between 4 major centers in Sunshine Coast. The Sunshine Plaza was already a big shopping center, and this number's understated. They've spent over 400 million expanding an already huge shopping center. They love the shopping centers there in Queensland. It's stunning. I mean, the restaurants are all outside on an upper balcony. The little paddle boats below that you can ride. And while people are going along the water, and at night it's even more beautiful with all the lights and the boats below and the restaurants on top. Very stunning. And then just all these other infrastructure things like this shopping center, upgrade, a theme park. So lots going on there. This is a great success story that we've done an exact same development. It looks just like that in Sunshine Coast. In 2018, it was called Ascent, and stage 3 was called Zenith. And we've done those, as I said, 4 years ago. This is exactly the same and the same developer. And they were 1 and 2 bedroom in the Sunshine Coast. And back then, at the time, the developer was kind of taking a bit of a risk, a bit of a bet, a calculated risk, building 1 and 2 bedroom, because no one builds 1 and 2 bedroom townhouses really, it's very seldom. But the reason they did it was they've got this KPMG research document, and I'm happy to share it with any one of you if you want to know more about this. And it said there what a shortage there is of dwellings for singles and couples, and what a demand there was for such a dwelling. So in the suburb of all 4-bedroom houses, there was nothing that was 1 and 2 bedroom. And the closest dwelling was a townhouse development. There weren't really any townhouses except for like one particular, and there were 3 bedrooms. So the developer built these 1 and 2 bedrooms, and I have to say, as I said, my partner bought one. They have performed the rental yield is phenomenal on there. So we sold those back then between 320, about 306 to 320 for a 1-bedroom. They are now worth over 400,000, 420, somewhere there. The rental levels over 400. The 2-bedders started at 395. Today they're 520,000 in value, and the rents are around the 520 a week. So that was Meriden Plains. Now they've replicated the exact same thing in Butterham, in Sunshine Coast, which is a very nice area. If you know anyone who lives there, you can ask them. Everyone loves Butterham. And it's right next to Sippy Downs Town Centre. And the reason we chose that is because Sippy Downs has been rezoned. So we've now got some of these available in stage 3. And this is what they look like. Really nicely done. The developer's done a great job. These open stairways, beautiful. And all this wood finish is not actually wood, it's recycled plastic, which is great. They've taken plastic out the environment, and it doesn't chip, it doesn't fade, it doesn't peel, and it looks like wood. This is what it looks like on the inside. Beautiful open stairways. There's double volume ceilings on the upstairs, with skylights. Just a really spacious, beautiful townhouse. And they 10 minutes from the hospital, 10 minutes from the beach, and that's why they're doing so well, because you can't rent for those levels. They're all big houses there. So this is such a great asset with such a huge demand. So the price point for the Butterham ones are around about the 440 for the, sorry, this is the wrong information. Let me just change this. This is 440 for the 1-bed, 1 bath, 1 living. It's 520 for the 2-bed. That's the cash flow. And so Butterham is, as I said, this particular development, and it's 850 meters away. So it's less than 1 kilometer away from Sippy Downs Town Centre. And this is a big new building, which we did sell these. The top 3 floors are apartments. The bottom, these 2 here are offices, which is the head office of DevCon, the property developer who built this. And the bottom is artisan cafes and specialty coffee shops. We did sell these 3 floors, and again, the demand was so high. We sold these last year. Each floor sold out in about a week, maximum 2 weeks. This is also part of this building, is this phase 2. And then this at the bottom is also the same developer. That's a play childcare center. And they've already secured a tenant for the childcare center, and it's only going to be finished sometime next year. This will be finished this year. But this is a big building in the center of Sippy Downs. This building is just opposite a Catholic school, a private school, diagonally across from the University of the Sunshine Coast. It's 10 minutes from that massive the massive Sunshine Coast hospital I spoke about. And in this road that runs in front of this building, just up the road, is across the road. I'll show you a picture. Across the road is this new club. It's not an RSL, but it's like that kind of club, which is brand new. Just behind that is a new Woolworths shopping precinct with a big W, a Woolworths, and 24 other tenants. Just beyond that is a new Coles shopping centre. And all of this is new. And then just further down past that is UE Insurance moved their national head office to Sippy Downs, 2 towers. The first tower is finished, employing 3,500 people. There's all new jobs there, and the other tower hasn't been built yet. So you can see all the development and the growth in the area and why we chose that. So that's for Sunshine Coast. We've got a few of those left. Again, they're on placeholders for phase 3. Stage 1 and 2 sold out, and stage 4 will probably be released a bit later this year. But 1 bedroom is about 420, and the 2 bedroom is around about the 520, so around there. And the rental levels are $1 per 1,000 or slightly higher. So just mentioning that because really good development. All right, this is just to show you some of the performance our clients have got in the last market that we did, because we work nationally. We're not a buyer's agent in a certain area or state, and we just help investors. And over the years, as you saw in the performance slide, we've done Darwin, we've done Perth, we've done Melbourne, we've done Brisbane, we've done Broome even. So this is the last market was Sydney. So this is Bonnie Rig. At the time, people said, this is in 2010. Why are you putting clients into Bonnie Rig? What a strange choice. But the research showed that there were, I think they flattened about 80,000 council houses. The whole suburb was going through gentrification and upgrade. And we put clients into a property in 2010 for $395. The client sold 5 years later for $650,000, made $225,000 profit, and the property was cash flow positive, $112 a week. The ponds, we put clients in there at $510 for a house and land package in 2009, and then recommended that they sell around March 2015, and the client sold for $900,000, made $390,000 gain profit, and they were positive cash flow also, $91 a week. Edmondson Park is one of the first properties I bought from Mike when I was a client of 2020. I bought exactly a similar 4-bedroom house. The price was $530. Just look at the dates here. This is another client. This wasn't mine. He bought it $530 in February 2014. Then the client was immigrating to go overseas and he just wanted to sell it. So he sold it just after the 12-month lapse to get only pay half the capital gains tax. So this is 13 months later, February 14, March 15. In just 13 months, the client made $185,000 profit. Now, I just want to mention this, is quite interesting, is that we were telling clients to sell in 2015, and most of our slides say that, and that was really the peak of the market. And I sold my house, the same house in Edmondson Park, a year late. I wasn't on time, it was just a bit, no big deal, just a bit later in October 2016. And I actually made $5,000 less than this client. So the timing that we were recommending to clients was absolutely ideal. Plumpton, we put clients into townhouses for $399, called it $400,000, and 4 years later they sold for $490, made $191,000 on the little townhouse. Really great result. Rudy Hill. So for self-managed super fund, if anyone's thought of that, I don't know if you have or haven't, it's a really smart idea to buy property in your self-managed super fund, because you get leverage. So let's say your super fund's worth $200,000, a $400,000 property, and you got a $600,000 well. If the super fund grows at about 3% a year, whatever it is, the property will do way better than that. Sell it, you pay a fixed retire. He's only got about $150,000 in his retirement savings. So we put him into a townhouse in Rudy Hill. This was actually an NRAS property. If you haven't heard of it, this is National Residential Affordability Scheme, where the government gives you $10,000 a year tax-free. Doesn't exist anymore, did then? So this client every year was adding $10,000 to his self super fund balance just from the government rebate. And then he sold 2 years later, made $151,000, and he basically doubled his super balance in 2 years. Now, you could never do that saving. And that's why property is such a great investment tool to reach a financial objective, and in a super fund, really smart as well. So in summary, the research points to Brisbane and Sunshine Coast. What we want to do is always establish the objectives of the investment first, then utilize the research and understand that exit point. And before we buy, then we just use property in a proactive way to achieve a financial objective. We're not attached to the property. We're not emotionally married to the property. We just use it as a strategic tool to meet certain objectives. We do manage our clients' portfolio, so we'll tell you when it's a good time to sell it or not to sell it, to keep it because it's still going to grow. And we don't charge any fees. We're not buyer's agents. We're estate agents. We help clients invest. We're property advisors, and we get paid by the developer. the same way as Ray White or anybody who sells a property gets paid a commission. So no fees. So any appointment with us, if you're thinking about it or you're unsure or you want to do it a year from now or 6 months from now, but you want to have a conversation to understand how it will work for you and what's the best way to start and just some ideas, a consultation costs nothing. So please do that if you're interested. Also, as I said, we don't advertise a dollar. All our business is through repeat business because of our clients having a strong performance. If you bought a property like I did really, really well as a client of Mike, that's why I ended up selling for them. I was telling everybody. I was working in corporate back then, and I told the people that I work with, if you're looking at buying, they said, yeah, they're interested. I said, get hold of this guy. And I passed on many clients to Mike, and eventually I got a bit of a reputation with him just through referring. So one day when I got the opportunity, when I wanted to leave corporate, he said, come sell for me. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's the greatest opportunity I've ever got because I love property, I love investing, and I have so much trust and faith in, as a client, what I got from 2020. So working for them now into my 7th year, I'm really proud of the association that I have. So if you do want to participate, my suggestion is do get your finance assessed ASAP. You need to know what you can afford, and if you're interested and you like something, we do to have the expression of interest when we get from the developer 2 or 3 or whatever they give us. As an agent doing investors in Sydney, we need to have a good name with them. So we will put this stuff in front of clients who can act. So that's why we say we get the expression of interest sometimes ahead or the meeting ahead. And on the day that it's released, we send that through 9 o'clock in the morning as soon as the office opens and secure that property for our client. And then we say, look, we've got it. Put in the holding deposit now of $1,000. And then you get your contract. And only then you pay the 10% deposit. So if you don't like it or you go and see it and you change your mind, you get your $1,000 back. But if you do want to participate, you do need to act quickly. Just want to take a question here. Are you based in Sydney? Yes, I'm based in Sydney, Harry. I have my own office. I have a personal development and training and coaching business, which is in Concord in Majors Bay Road. And the property office for 2020 property is in Double Bay. So, and I'm happy to meet you if you want to meet anywhere in Sydney. I drive around to clients all the time. Happy to do that. Get a meeting with me as soon as possible to see what's available to lock something in if you are interested. As I say, prices are moving all the time. The earlier you get in, the more profit you make. I've shown you already how prices have moved in just 1 year. Some areas 100,000, some areas over 200,000. So as the market grows, the earlier you get in, the more money you make. So if you are interested, let's jump in. Thanks, Harry. Great, I agree. And then put your expression of interest in same day. I'm just mentioning this up front so it doesn't shock you if you are interested and we do meet. Otherwise, really, there's nothing we can say or talk about. The property will be gone. And then get up to Queensland with me and see the area. That's what will happen after putting an expression of interest. If you do like something, that's the next step, is to go up there and I'll take you for a proper tour of the area. You'll meet the developer. You'll probably meet your managing agent because we lock in those relationships really early. You can see a development that's complete by the same developer or a display property and everything that competes with it. And we want to show you that we're close to public transport, close to shopping centers, close to medical facilities, close to a park, that it just ticks all the boxes so that it's very easy to rent. And when you want to sell it, whenever it is in the future, it's really easy to sell. And that's really the best way to invest in property. You just make it really easy. Don't buy strange shapes and designs that some people like, some people don't like. You buy the thing that really everyone will say, this is great. The flow is great. The quality of the finish is great. Something like that. And then if you do go to Queensland and you do like it, you come back. We do ask now, we never used to say this before, but we ask that when you do get your contracts, that you sign them quite swiftly. And the only reason is, it hasn't happened a lot, but it has happened that a client delayed a week or two on signing his contract, just saying he's busy. and the developer called us and said, I'm sorry, I've sold it to someone else. The house is gone. It's taking too long. We told you we need the contract signed within a week. So just letting you know, if you want to invest in the current market, we haven't seen this before. They say 40 years, they've never seen a market like this. For us personally in the property game, we haven't seen a market like this in 25 years because Mike's only been in the game for 25 years. It's really, really busy. So whatever's happening, we do it quickly, we do it properly, so that we don't have to, have people nag us. Can you get the contract signed, whatever, or say we're going to take the property and sell it to someone else. We don't want that. And then for house and land, we're only taking expressions of interest before the release date. So with house and land packages, for example, that one of Polara that I showed you there, or Joiner, I can take you through the whole presentation, the plan, the research, give you your kit, because when we meet, I actually provide you with a cash flow for your money, your exact dollar in, dollar out cash flow. All the information is in that pack. I take you through the whole thing. If you say, yep, Jeanine, I think I like this and I want to go ahead, we ask you for the expression of interest to be filled in before time. And we haven't got a property yet from the developer, but we know we're going to get either lot number X, Y, or Z kind of thing. We have that because there are some developers, depending on where the house and land packages are in, that they actually don't allocate us anything without swapping an EOI for it. So they say, oh, you want 3 properties in wherever? We say, yep. They say, right, give us the 3 EOIs and I'll give you the 3 properties. But they won't allocate them without the EOI just because they're so short of stock. I'm just letting you know that up front. Otherwise, right now, I'd like to just open the floor, all unmute your mics. Any questions that you have for me, please do ask. I'll stay on as long as you have questions. And then just to ask you, if anybody would like to know more or have more information on any of these 4 things, please just drop into the chat box your contact details, or send me a text right now. My phone number is there at the bottom. So if you'd like to know your borrowing capacity, go to a broker. I recommend a broker better than a bank. I'm being honest. I've got all my accounts with one particular bank. I don't go to them for a loan. And when I did, they never gave me the best deal. A mortgage broker finds you the best deal across several lenders. That's just me, my suggestion. As for tonight, I was going to do the presentation with Ziad. I apologize that Ziad couldn't be here. We will do another presentation in the future. He's just one of the brokers that we don't have any connection between us, but he's a really good broker and he's helped some of my clients in a fantastic way. So he would have just had a bit of a finance segment. If anyone's got any finance questions, you're welcome to ask me whatever they are. If I can't answer them, I will come back to you or get Ziad to contact you and ask him. But otherwise, go and see a broker and get your capacity assessed so you know. If you're interested in purchasing a property in a self-managed super fund, let me know. Let's get together. I'll direct you if you don't know where to set up a self-managed super fund. I just did mine a couple of months ago. I got the name in 2 days and it was set up in a week or 2. So don't think it's this huge process that takes months. It doesn't. And great way to put a property in. If you don't know any broker who's really good at financing a property in a self-managed super fund, please speak to me. We'll just recommend someone who we've put clients towards for over 20 years. She's brilliant. And you want someone who does a lot of those deals a year. So this person that we point clients to, if they don't have one, does at least 1 a week. And you want someone who understands financing self-managed super funds because you need to really understand it. A broker, ask if you have a broker, say how many self-managed super fund deals do you do a year? And if it's not more than, I don't know, a significant number, 20, 30 a year, then I'd say use someone who does about 50 a year. If you'd like any more information on the options that I've shown you, definitely get hold of me. And if you'd like your current portfolio, if you've got properties already, investment properties, you want them reviewed, we do that for free, no charge. I review them. We put a report. We'll look at the areas, look at the growth potential, look at the yield, look at the depreciation that's left. And we would give you just a suggestion as to what we would do in your situation, especially if you've got your own home and you want to pay down that debt and you want to, use investment property as a tool to help pay down that debt, which I do recommend. and keep debt on your investment properties because it's all tax deductible, then let's get together and have a chat. So thank you, Joseph. Beautiful. You'll get in touch. Wonderful. Harry, thanks for the presentation. So thank you to everybody. We've had a nice couple of people on tonight. So thank you so much. And I'll just otherwise say good night. Are there any questions from anyone? And if not, you're welcome to leave if you don't have any questions for me. I'll just stop the recording.